So just take a look that in previous class what we have discussed, that we have started the derivation of drain current using gradual channel approximation technique. Okay, so actually what is gradual channel approximation? Here we consider only one-dimensional electric field. That means in a device, if we write the Poisson equation, so it is coming in this form: d2 phi by dx square, where phi is the potential, okay, plus d2 phi by dy square equal to minus rho by epsilon. So this is the Poisson general form of Poisson equation in a device for two dimension. Okay. But suppose in a device where the value of x is very high, suppose we are talking about a MOS transistor. This is the channel length L. So the L is large. So then the gradient of electric field, that means dE by dx, the derivative of electric field dE by dx. That means we know that E equal to grad of x. Okay, d phi by dx. So d by dx means d2 phi by dx square. It is d2 phi by dx square. So this term will be negligible because d by dx, because d phi by dx electric field will be almost constant. Okay, when the value of x is large, the value of electric field, okay, will be almost constant, because you don't know electric field is the derivative of potential d phi by dx. Okay. That means we can say the potential is varying almost linearly. Okay, almost linearly. So d by dx, that term will be close to zero, because E is constant, electric field is almost constant. So derivative of constant will be zero. Okay, so it is negligible actually. Okay. So we can reduce the two-dimension Poisson equation to a one-dimension. That means we neglect this part. Okay, so d2 phi by dx square, this part is no longer valid. Okay, so it is because its value is very small compared to this d2 phi by dy square. So we can safely ignore this part. So then the Poisson equation can be written in this form, means one dimension, like this: d2 phi by dy square equal to minus rho by epsilon. So this is the basic foundation of gradual channel approximation. So why we are using this gradual channel approximation? Just to reduce the Poisson equation, just to reduce the complexity of Poisson equation, so that we can easily solve it in a pen and paper. And in most of the cases, when we are going to derive that model equation for MOSFET, okay, so we generally start our derivation from this by taking one-dimensional Poisson equation. Because by taking two-dimensional Poisson equation, model development is very difficult task. Okay, so lots of complicated equations will come, and it is really difficult to solve them. So this is. So the advantage of this GCA is very simple, suitable for hand calculation, and useful for model development. So that's why people use the gradual channel approximation technique. Okay. So let us see how we can apply this technique to formulate one model. Okay, so let we have this one, that is a MOSFET, okay, like this. Okay, we have a MOSFET like this. So here, this is the gate region, this is the oxide region, TOX, and this is the Q inversion. Okay, this is the Q inversion. That means inversion layer will be formed here when you are applying some positive gate voltage. We are talking about MOSFET. Okay. So from the Q equal to CV relation, we can write Q inversion equal to C, means here COX, into effective voltage. Effective voltage means whatever the voltage you are applying, that should be greater than threshold voltage to create one inversion there. So the effective gate voltage means it is VGS minus of VT, VGS minus of threshold voltage. So you have to apply some voltage which is greater than threshold voltage to achieve the strong inversion condition. And why I put a negative sign? Because the charges are electron here. Okay, so that's why I put a minus sign. Okay, so if you are working with the PMOS, it will be plus. Okay, this one. Okay. So this equation is okay for non-zero VDS. That means when we are not applying any VDS. So it is just like a capacitor. Okay, so from Q equal to CV relation, we can write this. But when you are applying a VDS, that means see at the drain side, you are applying some voltage and source is grounded. Then see, there will be some additional voltage term. That means the voltage will vary along x direction also. See, the source is grounded at x equal to 0. We can say the value of voltage is V equal to 0. and at x equal to L, the value of voltage will be VDS. So we can represent that voltage along x by using a parameter V is a function of x. Okay, so this V is a function of x. Sometimes it is denoted as channel potential. Channel potential. Okay, whose value is 0 at x equal to 0 position, that is source end, and whose value is equal to VDS at drain end. Okay, so this is. So now considering this V of x, now our modified expression for Q inversion can be written in this form. That is, just see, minus Ux, previously it was Vgs minus Vt. Now one additional term is coming, minus of Vx, because here you have some voltage. Okay, so V of x. So Vgs, whatever the voltage you are applying, minus threshold voltage drop, minus you have to overcome this voltage also. V of x. So previously there was no V of x because we are not applying any VDS. VDS equal to 0. So there was no V of x component. But when you are applying this VDS, okay, now there will be some voltage drop, and the voltage is maximum towards drain end, and it gradually reduces towards source end. Okay. So this is the final charge expression which will be used to calculate the current. So how to calculate current? Okay. The basic expression for current I equal to Q into V. Okay, so basically it came from the current density J equal to, okay, N into E into V, where N is the carrier density, E is the electronic charge. So total number of carrier, okay, into electronic charge, that is nothing but Q, that is Q inversion, okay, into V. So J is the current density actually, so it is basically J equal to current by area. Okay, so current by area means, so first we have to integrate it. Okay, so to get the area, we have to integrate it. So we have to perform integration. Okay, and the device we are working, that is the width of W. Okay. So anyway, so after putting this value of Q inversion, which I got in the previous step, this one, just check what result we are getting. We put this, and you know V, that is V is called the drift velocity. This V is called drift velocity, that is equal to what? Mobility into electric field. Okay, so V equal to mu into E. Okay. And this electric field, you know, that is nothing but negative gradient of this minus of dV by dx. Okay, the electric field along x. So this V, actually it is x. Okay, so this one x. So here the voltage is V of x. So electric field, due to that it will be dV by dx. So after putting this value, and see there is one negative term, so this minus will be cancelled. It is plus. So we are getting this equation. Okay. Then we can place this dx here in this side. So we are getting id into dx equal to this mu, this one. Now one additional term w is coming, because w is, because we now till now we are working with this only device which is one dimensional in nature. Okay, but this side the width of the device is w. Okay, and this side is L. Okay, so now we are performing integration from 0 to L, and with the and the W is multiplied, because if the width is W, then total charge here actually it will be W times of this. That's why the W came. Okay, so just rearranging the equation, we got this. Now we are going to calculate the current. So for that we have to integrate this. So from x equal to 0 to x equal to L, we are performing integration, and here V of x, okay, equal to 0 to V of x equal to VDS. Means at x equal to 0, you know voltage is 0, and at x equal to L, the voltage is VDS. Okay. So this is, so you have to solve this equation. Okay. So can you tell me what is the result you are getting? See, ID is the same current is flowing throughout the channel. So ID is constant. The same current is flowing from source to drain, means from here, this one, okay, from drain to source actually. This is, so ID is constant. So if ID is constant, then so this part will give ID into L. So ID is constant, we can place it outside integral. Integration x equal to 0 to L dx, it will be L. This is. So what is the value of this right side integral? So if I integrate this, so ultimate result will be this. So we can place ID this side. So because we are going to find ID, so it is half of mu Cux W by L into 2 into VGS minus VT into VDS minus VDS square. Okay, this. So this is the current equation we are getting by solving this. Okay. So check this current equation we are getting, that is came from the gradual channel approximation, and just check here whatever the value of Vx we are taking, that is basically along x direction. But in real cases it is not true. The electric field means both x and y will be there. But anyways, we are doing some approximation here. And again, when we calculate the inversion charge Q, just say minus COS into VGS minus VT minus of V of x. So V of x we consider, okay, the voltage is varying only in this direction. That is one dimension in nature. Again, in real case, the potential profile inside the device. So it is not a 1D, it is a 2D in nature. Okay, means the potential at any point, so that will come the x component as well as y component. It's a two-dimensional nature because the Poisson equation itself two-dimensional in nature. Okay, so yeah, when the device is large, the channel length is large, x value is large, then we can okay, that neglect this d2 pi by dx square term, and then it is okay, fine. But when the channel length is not large, not too much, it's less than 1 micron, then you cannot apply this assumption actually. Anyway, so here we are getting a very simple expression which is useful for hand calculation of drain current. So you can estimate, although what I'm saying that this result is not so accurate, so that you can calculate it, you can take this result as a reference. But anyway, so you can use this result, okay, to predict what will be the value of drain current for any particular voltage. Okay, so you can predict that. You will get some idea that how much drain current I can get from the device, because it is a current voltage characteristics of a MOSFET. Okay, so it should be, that if I plot the output characteristics, VDS versus ID, if I am going to plot the graph, VDS versus ID, okay, so how the graph looks like in a real cases, the MOSFET, the VDS versus ID graph looks like this. Okay, it looks like this. And we are going to develop a model that is this equation. So if I plot this equation, means if I vary the VDS for a constant VGS, suppose VGS equal to VGS1 here, okay, let this, whatever the voltage is, 2 volt, 3 volt, whatever, okay. So if I plot the drain current, so it should be like that, okay, because so we are going to develop the model for a MOSFET. So this ID, okay, so this ID, of course, it will follow this line. Okay, if I plot this. So see the equation carefully. When the value of VDS is small, okay, check. When the value of VDS is small, this term, VDS square, this term is very, very small. This term, the second term, is very, very small. So first term will dominate actually. When the value of VDS is small, the first term will dominate compared to the second term. Okay, and see, when the VDS value increases, then of course the current will increase. So if I plot the graph, what I'm saying that if I plot the graph, so this one is your actual. That means we got it from our device. Okay. So now if I plot the graph from our equation, so for low value of VDS, what you will get right here, for lower value of VDS, what you will get the same up to some point. Okay. But see, when the value of VDS large, suppose after this point, this point, when the value of VDS is large after this, beyond this point, then see, the second term will dominate because the VDS value now it is small. It's not small. The second term will dominate compared to the first term. Then what will happen? Whatever the value you have, the graph will this minus this. Now second term, okay, dominating. Now what will happen? The value of the drain current will reduce like this. So in the second case, it will be like this. For third case, it will be like this. So that means I'm just drawing it separately. So this is VDS, this is ID. Okay. So our actual graph looks like this. Sorry, looks like this. Okay. But the result we are getting up to this, that is okay. But after this, graph will fall like this after this point. Now, is it clear why the graph will fall? See, for lower value of VDS, this term is very small compared to this. So this term, the first term will dominate and VDS increases and so ID will increase. ID increases. But after some point, what will happen? This second term is no longer negligible. This term will slowly dominate, and as a result, this minus this, okay, so this overall ID will fall from its maximum value. Okay. So after this point, again, this term will fall. And if you calculate the maxima, you know how to calculate the maxima of a function, the peak of a function. So you have to derive it. Okay, you have to perform this derivative, dy by dx equal to 0. Okay, so you know how to calculate maxima of a function, y equal to function of x. So dy by dx, if you set it to 0, you will get the maxima or minima. Okay, so this is the technique. So similarly, if you calculate it, so this value, this peak value will be nothing but VGS minus of VTH, this point. So when the value of VDS is VGS minus VTH, okay, after this point, what will happen? The drain current will fall. Okay, see, as per this equation. Okay. So for this equation, whatever the current equation we derive for this region, means for this part, this is not correct. This part is not correct. Okay, it should follow like this. Okay, so initially it is following, but after this point, the graph is not following the actual. So this is the actual. Okay, actual IV characteristics. The graph should follow, our equation should follow this. It is not following. After this, it just fall. Okay, so they are having some problem here. Okay, so whatever the equation we derive, that is not valid in this region. So you know the name of this region is called linear or ohmic region, or ohmic region, and this one is called the saturation region. This is the saturation region operation of MOSFET, and this is the linear or ohmic region of MOSFET. Okay, so this equation is not valid for saturation region. Okay, so summary is that is not valid for saturation region. Is it clear why it is not valid for saturation region? See, in the saturation region, this region, so if you check, so this is the saturation region. Here, the value of current ID is almost constant. The value of drain current almost constant. Okay, it's not varying, it's varying very slowly. It's almost constant. Okay, so we need some correction in our derived equation. So again, I'm writing the equation, whatever the equation I got. So ID equal to, okay, mu COX W by L into VGS minus VT into VDS, okay, minus VDS square. Okay, so basically, so the summary is, so we can write, so this is valid for ohmic or linear region. Up to this point it is valid. After that it is not valid. So we can write this is ID lin. Okay. So what is the boundary? So boundary is this. After that we cannot apply this. Okay, this equation. So basically this is valid for when VDS less than, the value of VDS less than VGS minus VTH. When the value of VDS less than VGS minus VT. So then we can apply this equation. When VDS greater than equal to VGS minus VT, okay, this equation is not valid and some correction is required. And some correction is required. So let us see what is the correction. The correction we are doing, so in this equation, what we are doing, we are putting the value of VDS that is equal to this VGS minus VT. Because see, after this point, the drain current is constant, almost constant. What we are doing, we are putting value of VDS. So putting VDS equal to VGS minus VT in the drain current equation. So can you check what is the result we are getting? ID. If I put VDS equal to VGS minus VT in this equation, just put that and tell me what result you are getting. Half of mu COX W by L into VGS minus VT square. Okay, so this. So just check one thing. In this equation, there is no VDS term. Check. There is no VDS term. That means after this point, whatever the value of VDS, current will be constant. Check. After this point, since this equation does not have any VDS term, so whatever the value of VDS is, but the current is perfectly constant. So this is ID sat. So this is the saturation region current equation. So it is valid for VDS greater than equal to VGS minus of VT. So this is the boundary actually, this boundary. So this boundary sometimes it is called VD sat, saturation drain voltage. VD sat equal to VGS minus VT. Okay. So when the value of VDS, that is VD sat, is this one or greater than equal to this, so then the current became constant and we got this ID sat equal to half of mu CX W by L into VGS minus VT square. Okay. So we have two current equations for MOSFET. So to calculate the current for a MOS transistor, the first thing is you have to check MOS operates in which region, whether the MOSFET is in ohmic region or in saturation region. So first you have to check that. How to check? By checking this condition. If the VDS value less than VGS minus VTH, okay, see, then the MOSFET is in linear region, then you have to apply this equation. If the value of VDS greater than equal to VGS minus VTH, then the MOSFET is in saturation region and we have to apply this equation. Is it clear? So till now we got some equation. That means somehow that we model that a linear and saturation region current equation of MOSFET. Okay. But see, again, if you check the graph of MOS transistor, if you carefully check this region, this part, whether the current is perfectly constant, pick up any one graph, whether the current is perfectly constant from this point to this point. Is it perfectly constant?
No, sir, it is slowly increasing.
It is slowly varying. So when we are increasing the value of VDS, the current is not perfectly constant, it's slowly varying. But whatever the equation we derive in the saturation region, check, there is no VDS term, so it is perfectly constant. So here the current is slowly varying due to one effect. Okay, it's not perfectly constant. The current is slowly varying due to one effect that is called channel length modulation effect. It is called the channel length modulation effect. And due to that, the current is not perfectly constant. It's varying slowly. But whatever the current equation you derive, okay, it is unable to capture that effect. One good model means it will efficiently capture all the effect of a transistor. Okay, the real device. But in the saturation region, this equation unable to capture this channel length modulation effect. Yeah, because in our model, okay, in our case, this one, if I plot the graph, it will be perfectly constant. Okay, so again, we need some correction Again, we need some model improvement so that we will get exactly this type of variation in the saturation region. Okay, so let us see. So channel length modulation in brief is called CLM. So what is channel length modulation? Let us see. So let we have a device. Just I'm drawing the basic part. We have a MOS transistor. This is source. This is drain. And here you are applying some VDS. Here it is grounded, and here you are applying some VGS. Okay. And this is oxide layer. And if I write the current at the inversion layer charge, you know Q inversion equal to, okay, that is some negative sign, W into COX. I just multiply W, okay, because if I consider the width is W here, you can multiply W later also in current equation, no problem. It's your choice, into VGS minus of VT minus of V of S. We know this equation. Now just check one thing. When V of X equal to VD sat equal to VGS minus VT. When the value of V of X equal to VD sat, that means when the saturation just started, this point equal to VGS minus VT, then if I put V of X value VGS minus VT, then see the Q inversion will be how much? 0, because VGS minus VT minus of VGS minus VT. So Q inversion will be 0. Okay. So at the drain end, so Q inversion 0 means at the drain end, there is no inversion layer. So the shape of the inversion layer, will be like this. Source end it is maximum, because at source end V of X equal to 0. So at the source end the maximum inversion charge is present. But when you are moving from X equal to 0 to X equal to L, V of X value increases in this direction, and as a result Q inversion will fall. Okay, just see the equation, basic equation we have. Okay, so this equation, okay, the value of Vx will increase when you are moving from this to this direction. As a result, when Vx increases, so Q inversion will fall. Okay. Now, so Q inversion 0. Okay, fine. And if you further increase the value of Vx, that means value of Vx means here the Q inversion is already 0. That means here in this region, what will happen? There is no inversion layer, so that is called, this region is called the pinch off. Okay, so there is no inversion layer, so that is called the pinch off region. Okay. And if you further increase the value of VDS, actually what will happen? This inversion layer, okay, it will sit like this. It will sit like this. That means the pinch off region length, okay, will increase. Okay, so that means suppose previously it was 0 to L. I'm just drawing the shape. Okay, so previously the channel was like this, but when you are increasing the value of VDS, okay, now the channel shifted like this. After this, that this one is 0. So this point is delta L. So delta L is the length of pinch off region. Delta L is the length of pinch off region where inversion layer or inversion charge is absent. Okay, inversion charge is absent. So now we can say in this condition, we can say that, so previously our channel length was 0 to L, but now see the effective channel length, if I give some name L dash, it is basically from this to this point. Because now the channel shifted to this and this part is delta L, this pinch off is full of depletion charges. Now the channel shifted towards source end, okay. Due to the higher value of VDS, now the channel is up to this point. So it is no longer L, so it is L dash. Okay. So L is basically L dash plus delta L, or L dash equal to L minus delta L. So this value L dash, that is equal to L minus of delta L. So is it clear? Why it is L dash? Why not L? So when you are applying a value of drain voltage which is greater than VGS minus PT, MOS enters into the saturation region. As a result, the drain side, the pinch off takes place, okay, and the channel gradually shifted towards source end. Okay, the channel gradually shifted towards source end. Just see one thing. You know that this one is N plus doping. Which type of doping we are using for NMOS? This one is N plus. This is P-type substrate. So when you are increasing the value of VDS, this junction became more reverse bias. No? This junction become more reverse bias. So this depletion charge will be filled here in this region. So as a result, pinch off takes place. And the channel shifted towards source end. And the length of delta L will increase when you are increasing the value of VDS, drain to source voltage. This delta L value will increase slowly. Okay, this. So now we can say that the effective channel length that is responsible for the current, this is no longer L. So it was L in a linear region, but in a saturation region, it is no longer L. Instead of L, it is L dash. Okay, because up to L dash, the inversal layer charge is present. So then, since the channel length is L dash, so then we can write the ID SAT to the modified drain current in saturation region this is ID SAT. So what will be the change? Previously our equation was this. So can you tell me what will be the change in this equation? Anyone?
The L will be replaced by L dash.
Yes. So L will be replaced by L dash. Good. So it is half of mu COX W by L dash into VGS minus PT square. Okay. So we can write it, we can simplify it, mu COX W by L dash means we know L minus delta L into VGS minus PT square. Okay. So we can write this L minus delta L term in this way, half of mu COX W by, outside I am taking one L common, it will be 1 minus delta L by L, check, isn't it? If I take L common here, so it will be 1 minus delta L by L, yes or no? Into VGS minus VT square, I am taking L common here, okay.
Yes, sir.
So now, this 1 minus delta L by L, I'm just writing it here inside. 1, so basically I'm writing this, so W into 1 by this one. So 1 by 1 minus delta L by L, this total term actually I'm writing. 1 by 1 minus delta L by L, it is something like 1 by 1 minus X. Okay, something like 1 by 1 minus X. Now see, since delta L, the length of pinch off region is very small compared to L. Okay, it's very small compared to L. It's small, but not negligible, because we are going to include that effect. So we cannot neglect that. Okay, so then 1 by 1 minus X. Okay, so if you calculate it, if you expand this 1 by 1 minus X, that means 1 minus X to the power minus 1. In infinite series, it will be equal to 1 plus X. You can check it, okay, mathematics book. So 1 by 1 minus X, that is equal to, it can be approximated as 1 plus X, provided that the value of X is very small. That is delta L by L is very small. And that is true in our case. because when delta L is very small compared to L. So we can write that. 1 by 1 minus x, that is nothing but 1 plus x. That means 1 plus x means delta L by L. We can write it in this way. So this equation we can write the modified version. Okay, half of mu COX W, now it is W by L into VGS minus VT square into 1 plus delta L by L. Just check the first part. Okay, sorry. The first part of this equation is nothing but our previous equation. Check this one. So this is nothing but our previous drain current equation. This I decided. Okay. So one extra term came 1 plus delta L by L. Okay. So this part will capture the effect of that. That means why the drain current is not constant. It is just through function of the VDS. But there are several techniques to calculate this delta. Okay, so in a different modeling methodology, people use different technique. Some people solve that length in that region by applying Poisson equation that is difficult, etc., etc. But very simple technique is, so this just I'm writing this delta L by L, because we know that delta L by L, this reduction, because the delta L depends upon the VDS value. Okay. So if we increase VDS, the value of delta L will increase. If we reduce VDS value, the delta of L will reduce. The length of pinch off region will reduce. So delta L by L, it is represented by using one factor lambda into VDS. Okay, so there is no direct relation between delta L by L and this lambda VDS. So lambda here, it is one empirical constant. So empirical constant means it has no physical significance. It is used to just describe the relation between this left side and right side parameter, but we don't know how it is related to this. We just know that when we increase the value of VDS, delta L will increase and delta L by L will increase. And if I reduce the value of VDS, the delta L will reduce, so delta L by L will reduce. So we can say delta L by L somewhat proportional to VDS. So proportionality constant is lambda. But what is the value of lambda? There is no such guideline. So generally the lambda value can be found in trial and error from the experimental data. So this type of constant is called the empirical constant. And in our case, lambda is called the channel length modulation factor or channel length modulation coefficient. Okay. So ultimately, so I'm writing the final equation, ID sat equal to half of mu COX W by L into VGS minus VT square. So 1 plus delta L by L, now it became into 1 plus lambda times of VDS. Okay. Now see one interesting thing. Previously, we derived up to this part, and this equation was independent of VDS because whatever the value of VDS, the drain current is constant. But now see the VDS term again came. Okay. In the second part, 1 plus lambda VDS, so the VDS term again came. So when you are increasing the value of VDS, it is expected that the current will increase because see 1 plus lambda VDS term is there. The lambda is some value 0.01, 0.001 like that. Okay, value is there. So when you are increasing the value of VDS in saturation region, current will increase slowly. Is it clear how we do the correction? Okay, so this extra term is coming due to what? Channel length modulation effect. This. So if you neglect channel length modulation effect, so lambda will be 0. So this second term will not come. Okay. So finally, if I plot one graph, that is VDS versus ID, so without CLM, the graph looks like this. So this is without CLM. And with CLM, what will happen? Linear region, no change, but saturation region, okay, the graph will vary slowly. So this is with CLM. See, is not constant, varying slowly. So this is the difference. between two models, without CLM and with CLM. If I ask you that what is the effect of channel length modulation on output resistance? Okay. So effect of CLM on output resistance of MOSFET. So R0 means basically del ID by del VDS inverse. This is the value of R0. Now check this graph. What is the value of del ID by del VDS without CLM? Check. Del ID by del VDS means, suppose I am varying VDS from this point to this point. What is the variation in ID? Right.
Yes, sir.
Without CLM. So
Yes.
without channel length modulation effect, the output resistance will be infinite. And if I write GD, that is conductance, inverse of this, that will be 0. This is without CLM. Now with CLM, what will happen? It is no longer constant, it gradually increases. So there will be some finite value of delta ID like this. Okay. There will be some finite value of delta ID. So delta ID is not 0 now. But delta ID increases. So what will happen to R0 if delta ID increases? What will happen to output resistance? Output resistance will reduce. So with CLM, output is very important remark. Resistance of MOSFET reduces. So due to the CLM effect, output resistance of MOSFET reduces, or output conductance increases. So when there is a CLM effect in a MOSFET, the output resistance of the device will fall and output conductance of the device will increase, and that is not good actually. Okay, that is not good. Okay. And now the question is, why CLM effect is more prominent in short channel FETs? Why CLM effect is more prominent in short channel FETs? Can you answer that? So that is your home task. So I want answer. Short channel device, delta L is comparable to L, means this is no longer negligible, na? Because L itself smaller. Comparable to L. So CLM effect is higher. Okay. So if I plot the graph here, just check. If I plot the graph here with CLM and short channel device, so it will be like this. Okay. This may be more sharp because more CLM is there. Okay. So in long channel device, the current may be somewhat constant like this, but for short channel device, the drain current is not constant. The slope, okay, it is not constant because the CLM is more for short channel device. So that's why if you check the IV characteristics of a submicron MOSFET and long channel MOSFET, there is a huge difference in saturation region. In saturation region, that constant nature of drain current slowly vanishes for short channel device. Long channel you will get perfectly constant. You can simulate that. But for short channel device, the constant nature of drain current in saturation region slowly vanishes. It will be something like this, exponential. Okay, and if it is an ultra short channel device, so it will be like this, almost straight line. If you check the IV of 10 nanometer, 20 nanometer device, it's no longer constant, something like this.